Well, President Trump rallying the crowd in South Carolina in support of Governor Henry McMaster. And with voters heading to the polls in just hours from now in the Palmetto State, along with 6 others this morning, what can we expect? Here to break it all down, the top 5 races for us anyway, to watch, GOP pollster Justin Wallen. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So big rally last night in South Carolina, and it was kind of became, who supports President Trump more in terms of the candidates there?
Right. Yeah, it really is a proxy war for the brand of President Trump. We've got the incumbent Governor McMaster, who clearly supports Trump, vocally supports Trump. So does the challenger. And in this case, the president has cast his particular ballot, his lot with one. That's McMaster. And as you say, with a visit in person.
Yeah. And John Warren says, that he's more like Trump.
Right. Well, that's kind of the path they go, right? Yeah. One person may get the endorsement, and then the retort is, yes, well, I'm still more like you.
Yeah.
Well, the president kind of has that to say, doesn't he?
Right. So let's move on to Colorado and the governor's race there. What should we be keeping an eye out for?
Colorado's interesting. It's an open primary. So similar to California, voters can cast their ballots for anyone they want, regardless of party. It's typically a centrist state. The outgoing governor is centrist. It's viewed as a purple state. And yet the leading Democratic and Republican contenders are pulling left and pulling right. We're seeing the leading Republican contender voicing support for Trump, and the leading Democratic contender, Jared Polis, embracing universal health care and expanding marijuana.
Interesting. So extremes on either side. So let's now go to Maryland, the governor's race there.
Right. Now, Maryland, to me, is fascinating because you've got the incumbent Governor Hogan, no contender in his Republican primary. There's 8 contenders in the Democratic primary. And yet, meanwhile, Hogan is positioning. Hogan is rapidly distancing himself from the president, going so far as to pull the state's National Guard units from the border in protest of the separation of family perspective. That also, at least within Maryland, is a proxy war for the president's brand.
So who can pull further away?
In that case, yeah.
Interesting. And in terms of the Democratic challengers, how many did you say there are?
8.
8. So that'll split the vote there.
Yeah, I think that's what we call internecine warfare.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like what happened in California.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So let's move now to a race here that we're watching in New York, the 14th district. So why should people be interested in that?
So the 14th, all these different congressional races there, the challengers are moving left, trying to position themselves best. Crowley's race in the 14th, we have what I think is really a test of the emerging strength of the Latino electorate. Crowley faces a Latino activist, and Crowley is learning Spanish. So we'll see how that goes. So
perhaps an indication of how large or how involved the Latino vote will be as we head towards midterms?
Without question.
Okay, so Oklahoma now, medical marijuana legalization there on the ballot. The state question 788.
That's exactly right. So it starts with the left coast and moves inward. Oklahoma voters will have the opportunity to decide whether they're going to legalize medical marijuana. And right now, the public polling indicates that it's going quite well for the supporters.
And interesting because this is primarily a red state.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that as well. Perhaps an indication, all of these races, what we can expect moving towards the midterms.
Thank you
so much. Appreciate it.